What happened with Claudia Sheinbaum is indescribable. Look, I'm not someone who usually talks about setups or conspiracies, but this time, objectively speaking, this was a setup. Please watch this man and see how he approaches Claudia Sheinbaum. Do you notice how he even kisses her on the neck? And still, wow, those hands. Careful, where were the security personnel who were supposed to guard and protect Claudia Sheinbaum? And why did they react so late? But what did that guy say at the end? Let's watch it again. Look, honestly, I say this with all due respect. This person sounds like someone who isn't mentally well. I think he's either a drunk or has some kind of delay or cognitive problem. Honestly, because he doesn't sound like someone who's in his right mind. The guy has already been arrested. He's even listed in the National Detention Registry. So that guy will probably spend a few years in jail. They say he could be behind bars for up to 6 years. Just imagine that. Now, honestly, to me, this was staged and it comes at a very convenient time. Interestingly, this follows what happened to Carlos Manzo. It comes at a time when Morena, the political party, and Claudia Sheinbaum are going through one of the biggest crises in their history. A credibility crisis, an image crisis that they had not faced in all these years. And the thing is, if you think about it, what happened to Claudia Sheinbaum is the kind of thing that seems like it could put her integrity at risk. But if you think about it carefully, her integrity was never really at risk. Never, not at any moment. This was just a crazy guy who came up to her and gave her a kiss. That was it. That's what really happened. We have to put it into perspective. And if we add to this the slow and delayed reaction of Claudia Sheinbaum's security, this could very well be a setup. This could be perfectly planned. And it even sets things up for Claudia Sheinbaum to go on the morning show and deliver a feminist speech stating, "This is what women constantly face in Mexico," and divert attention from what really matters, which is the security crisis in the country. And the government of Mexico seems unwilling to solve it. Actually, they don't want to. I'll say it directly. This has reached a point where many now think the following. Ricardo Salinas Pliego says, that's a setup to divert attention from that they sent someone to take out Carlos Manzo, better known as the Mexican Bukele, and all the corruption scandals of the political party. He even started mentioning more things like the issue of taxes, the country's economic crisis. Honestly, the current situation in Mexico is regrettable, it's extremely serious, and people are fed up. In fact, on social media, people comment on things like this. It's planned, don't believe it, they want to distract from what happened. Why was he laughing? You can see the setup there. Well, I don't really think that's proof that it was staged. The fact that Claudia Sheinbaum was laughing, if we think about it carefully, humans usually act like that when we're in an uncomfortable situation. It's not strange at all. Let's continue. Here they tell us that's a soldier. Tomorrow he shows up with Chipotle, he'll say it was Calderon. I wouldn't be surprised if they blame the opposition, because it turns out they blamed the opposition for what happened to Carlos Manzo. They said, the situation in Michoacán is the Partido Revolucionario Institucional y Acción Nacional es fault. Partido Revolucionario Institucional y Acción Nacional refers to the Mexican political opposition. It's madness. It's just ridiculous now. Morena has governed for 7 years. Just imagine. But anyway, it's their own electorate. It could very well be. It's a smokescreen so they don't talk about what happened to Carlos Manzo. Absolutely. I'm sure that's exactly why they did it. To try to divert attention. I'm telling you, it's a situation that can be perfectly controlled. Honestly, a guy who gives Claudia Sheinbaum a kiss who at no point tries to hurt her. However, with that feminist empowerment discourse that the Mexican government is pushing, obviously this opens the door for Morena and Claudia Sheinbaum to try to divert attention from what happened to Carlos Manzo, who did lose his life, who really did suffer and was the victim of something terrible for trying to fight organized crime. A man who was asking Morena for help and never received it. I mean, Morena didn't help Carlos Manzo, they left him alone. Let's not forget that. And with this, they're going to try to cool down the topic of Carlos Manzo, but we're not going to allow it. Let's read a few more comments. Here they say, yes. Well, let's get back to what's important. The march on the 15th and Carlos Manzo. They also comment here, I hope they act this quickly when the complaint comes from a woman. Here it's only fast because it was done by the president. Look, honestly, if you think they act slowly with a woman's complaint, it's because you haven't seen how they act with a man's complaint. That's really harsh. Let's continue. They did catch him quickly. You can really tell it has to be someone important for them to take action. Life sentence, this person says. They're even going to reward him in prison. There are also people who say we should leave this page. It's all fake news just to make money. Another person says this is just to distract us and make us forget about Carlos Manzo. It's a sneaky plan. Yeah, sure. Obviously. They're trying to divert attention. This is more than obvious. Anyone knows that. And let's look at other comments. Look, here they say, I don't know, Rick, it must be staged. Big smoke screen. Of course, I'm telling you honestly, it's staged. By the way, it turns out that the independent journalist Carlos Jimenez, who is very famous in Mexico for leaking photos of criminals and crimes, came out to say the following. And watch out. A lot of people are canceling him in the comments. He said, this is terrible. What this man is doing to the president, even with Claudia Sheinbaum, it's a crime. The guy was extremely outraged by what happened. And he says, everything he does, from the kiss to the way he does it, everything is terrible. And in the penal code, it is punished with 1 to 6 years in prison. The Mexico City prosecutor's office should arrest him. If you recognize him, expose him. First of all, it's clearly a setup. It's very obvious. It's very evident. Anyone can see it from miles away. It's a setup. And honestly, it seems like a lot of outrage for something so ridiculous, so insignificant, so minimal, you know? I mean, it's totally disproportionate. The guy is all outraged over something that, objectively speaking, is nothing. It's nothing compared to what hundreds of Mexicans go through every day in the country. This is nothing. And even so, I'm telling you, they're going to take advantage of it. They're going to get all the political gain out of this. Because they have one goal, to turn the page, to make what happened with Carlos Manzo be forgotten as soon as possible. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I would really like to know what you think and what your opinions are about all this. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.